Hey, boys and girls, weather report for March 16th, 2022. And we are an hour early today because of Andrew.
I think we need to give away some speed bumps for Icarus and Chris for being here so early.
Right away.
Ooh, how about that?
Yeah, or just the reason I wanted to go early, like I said, was because I have an appointment later, and I don't want to miss the fun.
So who was first, though? You know, should we give speed bumps to both of them?
Well, I say we give it to both. Chris Peacock was first, but Icarus arrived with his link to Gutsit Gibbons' video.
Both kind of arrived around the same time.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I say give them both.
And y'all can redeem these speed bumps for other merchandise as soon as we come up with a merchandise. So
right, we're gonna have a speed gift shop soon.
I gave them 3 trillion.
Awesome.
Yep. Good luck redeeming that. And you can also basically cash them out for rubles in about 3 weeks. Yeah. We'll see what the conversion rate is in 3 months. Let's see what is going on.
How much is a twillion? Check back in 5 days.
Yeah, check back. So me and my son were walking yesterday in the neighborhood, and somebody had built a snowman, but the snowman had melted considerably, and it looked like a snow dough. We decided it was called a snow dough.
So it's a snow Frodo?
No. It looked like a snow dough.
Oh. So it was snow cookie dough?
It looked like something you might find in mommy's drawer if you weren't supposed to be looking.
Oh, okay.
A snow dough.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it looked like a snow dough. So we came up with the snow dough paradigm. Anyway, the neighbors really ought to tear that thing down because it's really starting to look phallic. Really bad.
Maybe that's the effect they were going for.
It could be. I'm not sure. I don't know. Let's see here. Okay, YouTube is there. Anyway, so John Maddox's logical, probable, plausible, or is it the other way around? He gets mad.
YouTube gets it wrong somehow.
Anyway, he did after one of his after shows last night. And did you watch any of the debate with Jim? They really gave him a hard time that he was, real surface level and all this stuff.
Oh yeah. Which, I mean, yeah, it was kind of the same talking points, but that's because Kent's script doesn't really change. And
yeah, but the talking points that he came up with were incredibly good.
Yeah, I think he came up with some good novel points, like about the same genetic material. He mentioned he mentioned some good ones, but I can't remember now. Oh well.
Yeah. Should I play it?
Sure.
Good.
We get the whole dealio today. We got some content finally.
Thank you, Donnie. Thank you, Kent. So I just want to ask the people watching first, if evolution were true, would you want to know? And that is a question you have to ask, because I think a lot of people out there, they don't want to know if it's true. They don't want it to be true.
Skip ahead.
Life on Earth uses these same genetic materials. Now, I know Kent is going to say, well, that's evidence of a common designer. But that's a claim made without evidence, and it can be dismissed without it. We don't have any evidence of this designer. We never have. The only evidence we have is to point to something we say is designed and infer a designer from that. But we don't know that it was designed. We do know that painters make paintings, watchmakers make watches, Ford and Chevy make cars. We do not know anything about a disembodied genie, universe-creating, life-creating genie who proofs animals out of nothing. We've never seen one of those. We have no reason to think that that exists. In absence of that, we have to assume that a natural process prevails, because that's all.
Okay, that was the part that I thought you know, a lot of us get drugged down into the weeds, you know, trying to explain evolution, and that's where they like to keep us running, right? They like to keep the dialogue one-sided so that they're never picked on. Well, James W. came right at him with the most concise counter to this bullshit about a designer, because we have no evidence of this particular designer. And and all the other things that they talk about that are designed, we have a lot of evidence. We know what Ford Motor Company is. We know people make tools and create watches and make paintings and make iPhones and all of that. And we have evidence of the people that made it, but we have zero evidence of this creator who poofed everything into existence. And they keep getting us down to the point where, oh, you explain sexual reproduction or explain how the eukaryotic cell developed. And we keep running like crazy, you know, keeping up with trying to honestly answer their questions. And he just went right to the heart of the matter. And I don't know how Hovind responded, because I can't listen to Hovind without my brain drying up. But
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought he did a really good job last night for the parts that I listened to.
It probably has something like some response like a pine tree coming from a fish or something.
Yeah,
that was probably his response.
Yeah. Oh God! In Maddox's after show, they were going on about cannibalism and eating your cousin or some fucking thing. They were trying to make the point that if you ate a vegetable, that you were eating your cousin, and that it was cannibalism or something. Did you hear that part? That was.
Yeah, it was kind of a little satirical joke kind of thing, but I don't know.
Yeah, it was kind of, but I mean, my cousin is not a broccoli plant. Okay, it isn't how we think of cousins, and you know, we have these English words, or basically in any language, we have words to talk about our closest relatives. And they keep using those words and trying to say whales and banana plants, or, you know, all that bullshit. And so they're using kind of a clever trick, because we think of our, like, I don't think of you two as being my relatives, right? At all. I mean, you're not my cousins, I don't think, you know? So it's like, so they're kind of using this little clever trick of the language to make evolution sound silly, when what James W. just did here is made their shit sound silly, poofing animals into existence, which is exactly what their Bible, it's exactly how they're reading the Bible. That's how they're interpreting.
I mean, I've heard people call other species our cousins in a sense, or like they're like our cousins in the branching descent pattern, but I don't think, at least most people, actually call them, oh yeah, I'm cousins with a hippopotamus. Like, that's not exactly what the language means.
And I don't have any hate towards hippopotami, but
right, yeah. Hippos are cool. They are pretty aggressive though, which is the reason why they're cool.
My cat Thor looks really offended right now that there's any suggestion that I'm his cousin.
Yeah, cats. They don't respect us very much.
He thinks you can't catch a fly. I can catch a fly.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You can't leap, you know, like the equivalent of 30 feet in the air up on the table. I can do that.
When's the last time you brought Loki a bird in your mouth?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't bring birds. I don't bring them mice. Nothing. Just dry old party time. The party man.
Yeah, it's got a point.
He's got a point. I know. Okay, so you want to talk about Haeckel and the famous drawings of Haeckel?
Only we get to talk about his colleague Jekyll.
Go ahead.
I like Nestle's comment because that just exactly demonstrates the point you're getting at, Speed. Oh, that's pretty funny. There we go. I am pretty hateful towards mosquitoes, especially the females. The only time when I'm an outright misogynist.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes. Does that mean we have to cancel Nessie? I don't know.
I suppose so.
Because he's a misogynist. Oh my God, you hate female mosquitoes. Oh God, I'm not going to talk about the person I went for a ride with this morning and some of the things that this person said.
Was this person your son, and was this car a Tesla?
No, not that.
Okay.
My son would have never said these things that were said. These things that were said should only have been spoken in the Deep South in 1908 at certain meetings.
Oh,
My God.
Involving elaborate bed sheets.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
hmm.
Hovind is not my cousin. I agree. So anyway, Haeckel. I linked a whole bunch of stuff in the description that talks about the Haeckel controversy. And one of those things is the name of a book, which if you're clever, they actually have a PDF version, I think, online somewhere if you search for it. And it's a whole book about fraud and controversies over Haeckel's drawings and a number of other things, and what really happened and what the nature of it really was, and how it ended up being part of the creationist intelligent design community's dialogue, and how they basically made it into something much bigger than it was. And then in around 1990, people started looking at these and realized that they were actually using these illustrations still in textbooks. And the reason they were is because they were very good illustrations. They were freely available. You didn't have to pay anybody to draw them. But I don't think anybody ever implied ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny, right? Development recapitulates the evolution, which is what Haeckel's that's what his big dream and theory was. And of course, it's been discounted since 1910, right? Or
Right.
earlier. In fact, he got a lot of hate while he was still alive. So,
Oh yeah.
on his theory.
Oh, am I echoing?
No.
Oh, hearing some. Oh, okay. It's better
What about
now.
you, Let's see if Scott hears echoing. I might have to reboot.
Am I?
I do not hear echoing.
Okay.
Okay. I guess it's better now. Yeah. So Haeckel's Ernst Haeckel's measurements, his idea of ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny is essentially a statement that is inherently Lamarckian in nature, in the sense that creatures evolve from lower quote-unquote life forms to quote-unquote higher life forms, and as they do so, they acquire new stages of growth and changes in development. And if you were to take that to an extreme, it would mean that as a human develops, they literally go through a stage when they're a single cell, like an amoeba, stage where they're like a sea squirt, when they're a reptile, when they're some kind of amphibian thing, so on and so forth. But yeah, he of course that's a nonsensical idea, but that's kind of the point he was making. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's correct.
Yeah, he thought everything basically traced the path of evolution, and that it was reaching for some kind of perfection in humans,
Right.
and that the embryo in the womb was modified. And I don't know if he had like some spiritual meaning behind that or what it was, but this was just the theory that he prescribed to. And the thing about Haeckel is he did a whole bunch of illustrations, and he did a whole bunch of really good work in bringing some of this science to the masses. And that's one of the reasons why his illustrations were still being used, because he's pretty good at it. And at the time he drew those, he did not have a good set of samples, I think the story goes, to accurately portray what these embryos look like. So he did a little bit of imaginative fudging, right? And but who the fuck cares what Haeckel who died in 1917 thinks, right? I mean,
Yeah, they're
Other
reaching
than
far
that,
back to find something to
a straw man.
illogically try to pick apart evolution.
Yeah.
Well, it's what I was talking about earlier when you show these pictures of comparisons between the embryos of different life forms at different stages of development. You can naturally see these similarities, and those are what are used to build, or at least help build, phylogenies. But when creationists see those kinds of diagrams, even if they're not exactly like Haeckel's, they kind of go back to the Haeckel talking point, because that's kind of an I guess what they consider easy to refute, and so they can kind of tear apart the modern evidence using that. At least that's what I hypothesize.
We got a little. I had to do a little explaining to Gur.
Yeah, that's correct. Neslick, heterochronic and heterotopic changes, because different parts of or different rates of growth in different body structures, whereas recapitulation would say it's a ladder-like progression, like you were saying, Speed.
Yeah.
So heterochrony does that mean different times? Is that what?
Yes. Yeah, it's different timing, different rate of growth during development, basically.
And heterotopy, is that having to do with the shape of the embryo?
Yeah, basically, like, so just some background. There are these regulatory genes, and so heterochrony would be changing the expression of when and how the rate those genes are expressed, whereas heterotopic changes would be changing the spatial expression of those genes, so where they're expressed in the embryo, if that makes sense. So you can think of it like a time-space dichotomy, sort of.
Cool.
Yeah,
So,
it really gets deep into it. It's fascinating.
So John brought a paper up right early on in the
Measurements, drawings, if you want to call them fraudulent, are kind of mixed in with the actual embryological similarities that we do see. I don't think they're one and the same, and I certainly don't think they can be equivocated. But
yeah, but it's the fact that he did, like,
yeah,
serious.
I will say, yeah, that was a bit interesting.
Because like
he did in 1860 or 70, right? That's when this happened. So like the fact that he did. So science was wrong in 1870. Oh my. Bad on science.
Google
I didn't see
evidence
that
for
part.
if you Google evidence for evolution, that's one of the images in there.
Well,
Yeah.
and if he kept insisting that there was nothing against it, it was not, let's just say, inaccurate, right? And it's like, dude, okay, well, here we go. Go take it up with Michael K. Richardson, James Henkin, however you pronounce it, that's a really crazy name, Claude something, Albert Reynaud, Lynn Selwood, Glenda M. Wright. Review article, 1997, April 5th. The title is literally, "There is no highly conserved embryonic stage in the vertebrates. Implications for current theories of evolution and development." And the entire paper is about this. And at the very beginning, it's talking about, this idea was promoted by Haeckel and has recently been reviewed in the context of claims regarding the universality of developmental mechanisms, etc., etc. Let's see.
Who wants to bet that John didn't actually read anything beyond the title?
Yeah, because the paper is about is pushing and I'm surprised that this was written in 1997, because we knew this in like 1920, I think, or 1900, when they did the work on Drosophila and a number of other embryos in a very early 20th century, like between 1900 and 1910. We knew all this, right? So why the fuck was this paper even written in 1997? I think it was because the controversy had started over Haeckel, right? And that's why they brought it up. But the point they're trying to make is that there is no, like Haeckel was his belief was that the organism at some point in development was identical across different species. and that's simply not the case. And that's
Right.
there is no, what is the title of the paper? There is no highly conserved embryonic stage in the vertebrates. Implications for current theories of evolution and development. And that's why this paper surprises me, because we know a lot more about embryology. In fact, embryology really, really came before genetics. In a lot of ways, we had a lot of detailed knowledge because we had some incredibly talented people in microscopy and biology that, sussed all this stuff. So I don't get it. But anyway, the paper, goes on and just makes that one point. And we already knew all this. Everybody knew this. People that wrote the biology books and put Haeckel's drawings in there, for whatever reason, and it's explained very well in the book why they did it, I think, and in this other article that I linked, none of that matters. I mean, none of that matters to their argument against evolution. What are they trying to say? What is their point, do you think?
I
think James brought that drawing up during the debate just to goad Hovind. I didn't see where you went with it, but I think he was just trying to goad him.
Yeah.
But the point, okay, one of the articles that I link, now those pharyngeal pouches that we call the gill slits, okay, they're not gills, they're slits, and they do exist across all of chordata, I believe. Okay, these little pouches, these little infoldings that develop, and that goes to the law of monophyly. And that's basically, that shows you how from development we can see all of these vestigial and trace developments, right?
Yeah, it's I think you're echoing.
Am I?
Am I echoing?
Am I echoing, guys?
Andrew's echoing, but now I'm echoing.
Okay.
But not you, Speed.
I'm leaving and coming back. I'll be right back.
Our plan worked, Andrew. So,
Testing,
Andrew.
1, 2. Okay, now it's better. Yeah, it must have been Speed.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
I'm just trying to think of something. What was I trying to think of? Oh, well, never mind. Speed's back anyway.
How you've grown so large.
Large and looming.
Oh, never mind.
Anyway, where are we? What are we looking at?
I was gonna say, like, the pharyngeal pouches, I'm pretty sure they're homologous to the gill slits, but they're not like actually fish gill slits. Like that would be recapitulation. What I think the evidence is, or the argument that's being made is, you have these ancestral characters in the sense that all vertebrates have them during this embryonic stage. That is evidence that that they share common ancestry, because their common ancestor would have also had that kind of similar structure.
Yeah, like if you look at embryonic development, you find, just like, look at the Hox genes, for instance. They're everywhere in the animal kingdom, and they're, that is a highly conserved system along all animals, and that and a number of other things like these gill slits. But they aren't gills; they're pharyngeal pouches, and in humans they never turn into slits, but in fish they do.
Right.
And they pump through and they allow air to get into the other parts, which are actually responsible for respiration in the fish. And I think those, I forget what the article says about those, but in so in humans, those okay, in fish there's these little bony extensions between the slits that form, right? And those little bony extensions end up being turning into jaws in later fish, and they end up turning into our jaw and then parts of our ear. And there's just when you look at how the embryo develops, you can just see how these same tools have been used and very slightly modified to form vastly different structures.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So the point,
changes are fundamentally rooted in the development of the organism.
Yeah. and uses some of the same genetic mechanisms, the same morphogenetic mechanisms to develop all these different structures. And you could see how very small changes in gene regulatory networks can create vastly different structures like fins and limbs. And that is the point. And I think that's why James W. brought this up, because he was trying to make that point, maybe. But I'm not sure. I didn't listen to that much of the debate, so I didn't go through it. I was more obsessed with the. I heard so much dumb in that after show from what is that bubble guy, corporate bubble?
Yeah, it was a bit off the edge.
And even Bob said some amazingly unbrilliant things. And who the hell else? It just went on and on. Christopher,
the Ray Giordano guy. I probably mispronounced his name. Sorry.
Yeah, that Giordano.
Yeah.
Yep.
Giordano.
Like they were saying, natural selection was blind luck and just inherently random. And how could it know how could the mutations know to do this? Or so it just some fundamental misconceptions about evolution.
Yeah.
Or I should say evolution by natural selection specifically.
Did somebody highlight this already? Anyway.
Yes, I did. Basically, anytime Nestle says something, I'm going to highlight it because he always has something smart and knowledgeable to say about this particular topic.
Yeah.
Unlike this Joker.
Yeah, where's he come from? I don't know. He just sneaks in.
We should throw the link.
Nestling in soon.
Yeah, we should throw the link out.
He probably has a lot to say on this.
Here comes a link. Everybody click on that link.
Thanks, Scott.
But look at this from George Bond.
Oh, yeah, that comment.
If the law of monophyly is true, there shouldn't be any life forms but their imaginary Luca.
What?
And I like how dryly you handled this. It was pretty cool.
George is starting off the super chats thoroughly. Appreciate you, George. Says super chat says, if the law of monophyly is true, there shouldn't be any life forms but their imaginary Luca.
That's not what the law of monophyly means, but whatever.
You mean some creationist is showing just a deadly ignorance of actual evolution?
Basically.
Is that what's happening in front of our eyes?
I think that may be happening.
Oh man, Nessa can't join. Oh well. Next time, I guess.
I don't know. I bookmarked this, but I'm not sure why. Let's listen.
Those measurements, drawings, if you want to call them fraudulent, are kind of mixed in with the actual embryological similarity.
Okay, we already covered that. Let's see where we
fraud. All of his pictures are frauds. Recapitulation theory has been debunked.
Yeah.
Why and how do they keep using it?
Who's they?
They don't keep using recapitulation theory.
It shows up in images and stuff because that's a significant image. I remember seeing it when I was in science class somewhere, seeing drawings of embryos and stuff like that. And that was when that was back in the 70s. So
yeah, and like I said, this is what drives me up the wall, as John likes to say, because embryological developmental drawings and pictures of these similarities during development, they're not the same as what Haeckel said. They never were. They're irrespective of that. Haeckel was making a much more extreme version of the claim.
Yeah.
I guess I could say. So
something that was discounted a long, long time ago.
Right. You could say that Haeckel was making a more Lamarckian claim than a evolutionary, or I should say Darwinian claim.
Yeah. I wonder what the evolutionary science textbooks say about that topic now. Do they usually go into a history of Haeckel and then how things changed and what they teach now, or
no,
do they not even mention Haeckel?
Yeah, the ones I've seen don't really get into it at all. They just show the illustration. I don't know. I'm not sure if I have I must have a biology book in my library that has that, but I'm not sure because they had them as late as the 1990s. So, and then they decided, oh, we fucked up. We're not going to do that anymore. So, mostly because of the creationists, intelligent designers, and their straw man.
Yeah.
So, let's see.
It makes no sense to me.
Because they don't actually look at the science.
Because you haven't replaced it. Use a lie?
Yeah, they'll use a lie as long as it furthers their goals, and if they find real evidence, they'll use that instead.
Yeah, there's a reason they keep defining evolution as just like
that's pretty ironic and priceless.
Very
There's a small mountain of evidence that has been faked by evolutionists. From Haeckel to Nebraska man. There's all these different ones.
Nebraska man.
Yeah, he mentions Nebraska man again. Oh my god.
Which the scientific community never fully accepted, by the way. It was just this guy who mistook whatever the word is, the tooth, and claimed it was from a hominid, but most of the other paleontologists were like, nope, you're wrong here.
And then later on in the same stream, one of them says atheists are 30 to 40 years behind the current research.
Isn't that amazing?
And when did Nebraska man happen? Was it like 1940, 1930?
Yeah, early 1900s.
Yeah.
I mean, it was popularized in the media, but not in the journal literature.
Yeah, and when did Haeckel's theory happen? 1870? It's
right.
like, come on, dudes. You're accusing us of being...
Yeah, they're having to reach way far back to find something that might be a little shady.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then I thought, I just caught this one. I'm not sure what in the hell. Now, who's this coming from? I think this is coming from James Dare, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think what Ray said was right. Like, not only does this one individual in that population need to have that mutation, multiple individuals within that population have to have that mutation around the same time in order for it to be promoted. Or else it's just going to be white noise, just background noise, and it's going to get removed.
No.
What in the hell was that?
This just fundamentally betrays a misunderstanding of how allelic diversity works and how alleles change in a population.
And confusing that with the power of genetic drift or whatever.
Right.
That everything would when they learn one thing, they extend it all the way and they don't look at all the other things that are operating in the other direction.
Right.
I just thought
the exceptions to the rule, which are just as important.
Yeah. So what do they say about this?
Well, just before you continue, this was one of the points I was trying to make while I was in there, that natural selection doesn't just eliminate harmful mutations. It can promote beneficial ones. And if they're strongly beneficial, they can rapidly spread in the population. That's a form of natural selection that doesn't involve just pure elimination or what's called purifying selection.
Yeah, and mutations due to genetic drift and other population dynamics can develop into a large portion of the population. I mean, they can extend. They're not necessarily going to drift out.
Right.
Some things drift out, but not all things drift out.
Some things can drift back in, or
it's
further.
because it's neutral and there's no direction behind it, so it could go either way. Depends on the population dynamics. These guys are so goddamn clueless and so sure of themselves that it's just amazing.
I know, yeah.
Like, what in the hell is going on? Let's see where they go with that.
It's almost like they haven't read an evolution textbook or any evolution articles all the way through.
Yeah, they certainly haven't gone through the amount of work you have to go through in order to understand what you're reading.
Or maybe, the book, Why Evolution is True. And there is I think there's a molecular biologist or a geneticist named, it might actually be Sean Carroll. It's not the physicist, but his name is Sean Carroll.
The other Sean Carroll.
that wrote about evolution on a genetic level.
Yep.
I mean, there's all these cool resources, and it just sounds like none of these folks actually read them.
I'm trying to put Top Dog's links for the day in. It'll take me a second here.
In fact, I'll look it up in a minute once the conversation gets going again. But I think the one from Sean Carroll I actually listened to on Audible many years ago.
Was that Endless Forms Most Beautiful?
Oh, before I forget, Daniel Nicholson dropped another paper.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, and this one I'll have to look at it. I'll find it in a minute, but I think it just came out a few weeks ago. So anyway,
very nice.
So yeah, go ahead and see if you can find the Sean Carroll link, and then there's another guy, and I think he's a Christian. What is his name? God, there's another guy we got to talk about. He's okay. I sent you a link, Andrew.
Okay.
Do you remember that in text?
In private chat?
No, in text. On the phone text.
Oh, I don't have my phone around me. Hold on.
Okay, I got it right here.
Okay. I'll have to check later. Sorry.
Dr. Joel Duff.
Right.
And I think I'm not sure, he may be a Christian, but he's an old Earth.
Yeah, I think he's a Christian. I'm not sure, because he worked with Biologos.
But his shit is really good. I mean, his shit is excellent. His videos are just, and he comes down on creationism pretty hard and very accurately.
Not to sound like I'm boasting here, but like one of his most recent videos was a mailbox episode responding to some questions that I sent him by email.
Oh, really? So that was you?
It was pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Maybe I might have pushed it a little bit because, I was, I won't go any farther than that. But yeah, he made a really good episode on that, on the some questions I was asking him about the genetic code, and some quick responses to what I asked about codon bias and religion.
Okay. Yeah, you were the one that was asking about codon bias. Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know it was you. And this
you watched that one?
Yeah. And he did 2 videos on dinosaur DNA, and he goes through them in such detail, and he explains exactly what's going on and how, like when they say they found chromatin in fossils, what they've actually found is that a couple of the ribose phosphorus bonds were still present, enough to kick off different kinds of staining. So that's all they need, but that doesn't mean the nucleic acids are there, and it most certainly doesn't mean that the nucleic acids are there in the order that they used to be.
Right.
And you might find like a fragment of 5 or 3 or 4 or whatever, but you're never going to be able to put together a genome from that. Right. And these nucleic acids have been modified, and they've been disconnected from the ribose, and and he explains all of that, and he explains how ridiculous some of this soft tissue.
He gets really detailed in his videos.
Yes, he does, and he gets highly detailed, like professor level, lecturer level.
He's pretty good.
He is good. And he doesn't get enough attention. He's not getting as many views as he should be getting. So everybody should go check out his channel and subscribe. I will put that in the description. Yep. As soon as I can.
Romania's challenging you to a boxing match.
Oh, well, you got to come here. Oh, wait a minute.
He must think he's Elon Musk.
Okay, he thinks because he's young he can beat me up. Come on, dude. Come on. Bring your shit. Minnesota. My backyard.
Y'all did see where Elon Musk challenged Putin to single combat, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, bring it, Gur.
Yeah, bring it, Gur.
I'll put you down in about 5 seconds.
But you have to build a spaceship first.
Yeah. I've got a punching bag hanging in my garage, and I round kick it every time I get out of my car. and I say grr when I do it. Anyway, let's see. Let me play
But
this.
like Jackson, can you understand the gravity of this problem? Like, not to say that, well, okay, I understand the gravity of this problem, therefore evolution is false, but can you understand the gravity of this problem of going from asexual reproduction to bisexual reproduction? Do you have any?
Sure, it's complicated for sure.
Well, yeah, but it had, presumably in your worldview, it had to evolve gradually from some process, presumably asexual reproduction to bisexual reproduction. And there are a lot of stages. Like, have you ever considered the vast complexity of that and how it might have formed over gradual periods?
Yep.
Yeah, I've thought about it, but
we have
not too much on the how to.
And
is there an answer?
Here comes
Dr. Dan.
Dr. Dan's here.
Well, he's probably third.
I just wanted to say the options are not asexual and bisexual. The options are asexual and sexual. Thank you. I just had to say that.
Did he say bisexual?
He said bisexual.
And he kept saying it.
Oh no.
Like there are species of fungi and probably some microbes that I'm not aware of that have what's called mating types. So not really sexes in the sense that they kind of just recombine. And I think Dr. Dan mentioned this in the side chat of this video at one time. I can't remember when, but before he left, though, it was amusing how Redefined Living came in and tried to do his precept shtick with Dr. Dan.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Which he was not impressed with.
No, he wasn't. And he said, you're trolling me. I'm out of here. Goodbye. So he just came in to invite them to come over to his stream and talk more in depth about how sexual reproduction developed.
Right.
And why we don't call it bisexual reproduction.
Right. And he was in the den of hyenas there, and he held his own pretty nicely. Okay. Probably better than I could at that moment.
He did pretty good. Let's see. So, whoops. Let's see.
What's the answer than I am?
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question?
How do you go from asexual reproduction to bisexual reproduction, given all of the variables that seem to be required?
Did you hear that?
For bisexual reproduction out of the gate?
So I have an answer to that question. It's a long answer, so I don't think this is the appropriate venue. I just wanted to come on and invite anybody who wanted to. We could set up a chat on this on a, wherever, and like have a conversation dedicated to that if people wanted to, because like there is a really, really interesting answer, and the evolutionary dynamics of it are awesome and they're very well understood. But it's not the kind of thing that it's not a 2-minute or 5-minute answer. It's a long conversation, and I would be happy to have that conversation with literally anybody. So that's all I want to say.
So Dan, what's the name of this one? Because all the ones that I've read have cratered. So what's the name of the latest one?
Okay, so what the fuck was that? What's the name of this one? I don't think I've ever heard names for theories of how sexual reproduction developed, but maybe there are. But did you notice he said all of them have cratered? Like, what do you mean?
Well, he decides the ultimate fate of stuff he likes and doesn't like.
Well, it's kind of like RNA world, an RNA peptide world, and all of these different worlds that we've come up with for abiogenesis have all had their critics, and there's people in different camps, and they're kind of fighting it out right now and trying to figure out what the hell did happen. And because they will come back with a criticism against one of these worlds or these ideas, they'll say, oh, that cratered. No, it didn't crater. They found a problem with it that the people that are proposing it have to deal with, and they do deal with it over and over and back and forth, and that's what happens.
This is how science works.
Exactly. And it's just like, no, they haven't cratered. It's like, I don't know. But then
the latest one.
Explain
latest theory.
Yeah, the latest theory to explain it, because all the ones that I'm aware of have cratered. So, like, what's this one called?
So it doesn't have a name. It's a process. Right. It's evolutionary processes operating on sexually reproducing populations. They go from undifferentiated gametes to differentiated gametes, and like that process is well understood. So if anybody wants to talk about it, How does that
Can you
work?
contact with me. Can you give
How
an
does-
overview of the
We can talk
process?
about it, but
Like
I'm not
the
going to have that
evolutionary-
conversation now. But I'd be happy to if anybody wanted to. And obviously, I'm positive that you wouldn't want me to host it, and that's fine. I'm sure we could find somebody else to host that conversation.
Is there a video that does have the rundown of it, or like some sort of link?
Is there a video? I mean, you could take like the place to find it would be an evolutionary biology textbook or a class. Like it's not
What's-
exactly
What's
like gonna
specific?
bring the clicks on YouTube. You know, it's
I mean,
It's
do you have
not
like
actual
a specific link anywhere we can like?
I don't have I mean, I could recommend a good textbook if you would like.
A
Can you
certain,
answer- okay, so
I
can
could
you
recommend
answer
a
the one
couple.
question? Did the immune system evolve before or after bisexual reproduction?
Let's see. I have no idea. I would think after.
So Bob keeps asking this, did this evolve before that? Over and over again. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
It was like, what are you misunderstanding about evolution here?
This is a guy named Bob
Argotha.
Bob Argotha. Okay, Argotha.
Bob.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's also, they're talking about where to find these things. I have a website they're trying to build to answer for people or to help understand science. So
Yes.
so
So
they
anyway,
can put their 2 cents in.
so what did you think of that? This asking what came first, chicken or the egg? My uncle used to ask me that when I was like 6 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, like body systems, in a sense, developed one after the other in some cases, but like
All of the stuff was pretty much simultaneous and in parallel.
yeah.
And
I mean, it's they think that it's like some of the organs are already there, and then inextricably you have a lung growing out in a single generation kind of thing, and so you just gain a lung, and that's how it works. No, that's not how development works. The structures we get are just modifications of previous structures that can act as precursors for the new structure.
I think Dr. Dan's expression says it all.
Yeah, I think Dr. Dan is they ask about or I think it was before this. They asked about how gills evolved into lungs, which they didn't. But I think Dr. Dan has explained this before, that lungs and swim bladders are extensions of the digestive system.
Yeah, that comes later.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And any of these creationists who are not taking Dan up on the opportunity to speak with him it's like, here's $1,000, let's just throw it in the shredder there. His time and his knowledge is so valuable, but they won't take it up. Even if it's just a matter of, and maybe, I don't know, they haven't thought that they could do this, or maybe they don't know how to do this. Something keeps them from just asking questions of him until they understand his point of view and can repeat it back.
I also think it's partly because his knowledge is to such an extent that it might be intimidating. Like it might cause them to not want to go on a one-on-one with him. Otherwise, they might look foolish. So that's why they kind of gang up on these particular streams when they know that there are other creationists around. But like just a sheer discussion, which, by the way, creationists are not very good at just rational discussions. No. So they like the debates. It's all about the debates.
It's just so odd that they're so sure of what they say the dumbest things, and then they're so sure of what they're saying, and then they sit around and they chitter and go back and forth, and it's just like, and you listen to it, having a deeper knowledge of the topic that they're talking about, and you realize how much egg they have on their face, and it's mind-numbing for me.
Well, 90% of the streams like this are just people taking turns patting each other on the back, and not just for new things, but for some arguments that have been around for a while now.
Right.
So it's, yeah.
And then showing papers that don't talk about the thing that they're talking about.
Yeah.
So apparently there are all kinds of names for these a bunch of different theories for how sexual reproduction evolved. So anyway, that's what John was asking, is what the name of the newest one is or something like that. I don't know. But it kind of goes over your head when you're in Dr. Dan's place where he's looking at the literature in a different way. You wouldn't be thinking in terms of, oh, this theory has this name or whatever. So it just sort of reflects them. But anyway, let's see if we can get through this part and get to the next juicy part.
Yeah.
Well, does the system that you were discussing, you were saying that there's like this process. Does it state whether or not that is the case? Which one happened first? Does it state, does it give any indication how the ability for the male, for instance, is able to split its DNA and send it to a recipient, and the recipient could take that split DNA and recombine it?
Yeah, so that process, like that's just recombination is what we're talking about, and that process predates sexual reproduction by a long time. Like everything is capable of that. Even asexual populations do recombination. It's decoupled from reproduction.
So this process you're talking about, it's not just reproduction with variation, right? It's not just time and mutations. It's different, right?
No, it's a different thing from that. Yeah, it's a specific way of doing reproduction that involves changing the ploidy to haploid and then bringing it back up to diploid. And then so the cells that do that are called, or the cells that result from that process are called gametes. And then all your gametes can be the same within a species, like fungi do that.
Sure.
So
they can also differentiate, and that's
pause for a sec.
does it have like a mechanism?
So I just want to say I really like that explanation of the difference between recombination and sexual reproduction. The fact that the latter is about creating a new organism from the parents, whereas the former is just swapping and mixing genes, and they can be related to each other, but one does not necessitate. Well, I guess sexual reproduction necessitates recombination, but not vice versa.
Yeah, and I think, and then I think Dr. Dan makes some comments about horizontal gene transfer,
right?
A little later on, but I do not know much about this particular topic. I would love to hear Dr. Dan talk about it. But basically, we have mitosis, and then meiosis is sort of a broken mitosis. It was one of the things that I run into, or one of the ways that I think about it. But basically, meiosis and mitosis are different. The thing that divides the cell and the thing that produces gametes. They're very similar, and they use some of the same mechanisms. And it's just that the mechanisms got a little messed up, and we ended up with sexual reproduction, which turned out to be a really useful thing, which is kind of what he implies a little later, I think.
To retain the past information and organize future information.
It doesn't change anything. It's you're shuffling a deck of cards, right? You're just getting new combinations of alleles. You're not.
So it doesn't have
using specific alleles.
So it doesn't have so it doesn't have a system to for future generation of genes and stuff like that.
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. I'm sorry.
It doesn't have a method or sorry, I'm clicking ads away over here. It doesn't have it doesn't have a way to generate future genes or future information.
It's so as a mechanism of evolution, what it does is it generates new combinations of existing alleles. There are other mechanisms that will generate new stuff, but like actual new alleles or new genes. Sexual reproduction doesn't do that, or I should say recombination doesn't do that. It generates new combinations of whatever the two parents have.
So Dan, was the womb or egg evolved before or after this ability to recombinate the male?
Okay, Dannikins real quick.
Yeah. Okay.
There are questions. I don't know. Maybe Dan thinks there are no stupid questions, and he sees this as an opportunity. But this just tells me that the asshole did not do any reading about actual evolution before he started talking to Dan.
Yeah, I don't think so. Other than on creationist sites, maybe.
I'm going to, Dr. Dan has a real positivity about him, especially when it comes to science. So I'm just going to assume that he sees this as an opportunity to teach. And I'm just going to say, give some monetary gifts to teachers out there everywhere, folks.
Yeah. And Bob Argatha, he is not a dumb person. He's an intelligent guy.
Is he kind of combative? Like
he gets combative, once in a while. Yeah.
That's been my impression.
Yeah, he came on our channel once and he was kind of a dick. I don't know. But he's a smart guy. He's a programmer, I think, and he's pretty rational sometimes, and he comes back on these guys occasionally. But the shit he did last night was really depressing for my image of him. So anyway,
DNA. Was it before or after?
So I think we're conflating like sexual reproduction, having male and female, versus like having specific reproductive structures. The structures would come later.
What I'm asking is like the difference between asexual, non-gender, versus gender.
I'm sorry, I don't really understand. So it's you have, like I said, it's a longer conversation. Yeah, you're going from just
non-gender
mating types. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are certain things that have to be, at least that's how they are today, right? So I'm willing to afford.
Did he say non-gender?
I have no idea what he's saying.
Is he like confusing this whole thing with the whole gender controversy with Christians? I don't
think
know.
the guy's just really wanting to come up with a gotcha on Dan.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's fairly sure of himself because, like I say, he is an intelligent individual. So.
Or that maybe it was different in the past, but today we have eggs and we have womb. Okay. Did the ability to recombinate DNA from two different...
Oh my God, he said recombinate DNA. I'm not sure if I like that or not. Do you like that? Recombinate, yeah.
I guess it's not horrible.
Yeah, I guess it's not that, but it just sort of sets me back a little bit. I'm sorry.
Instances of speciation. I don't know if that's the right terminology.
I think I hear the recombination came first. Yeah.
Okay. And then so the recombination came first. How did it get from? Well, what was the recombination like back then in originality?
Like asexual populations can recombine, and that's easy. It's just they do things like transformation, which is where they just pick up DNA from the environment. You can do transduction, which are viruses move stuff around.
They just say it picks up DNA from the environment.
Yeah,
this part.
Yeah, this part. This is cool.
It kind of, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
from our perspective, where does that DNA come from in the first place? Because you're saying it's just a recombination, but recombination wouldn't lead to the generation of new information. Yeah, it sounds iffy. It sounds iffy right now.
I mean, that's a well documented process called transformation. It was first documented in 1929.
Yeah, but
really controversial.
But it's not generation of information, so it sounds real sus right now, But we're willing to hear you out. I'm willing to look at. it.
Well, look, I'm gonna. So if anybody has any last minute questions, but I'm gonna call it. But I'm easy to reach. So if anybody wants to have a longer version of this conversation, I would be more than happy to do that because it is a really interesting. The origin of sexual reproduction, awesome. I could talk about it all night.
I have a question for you. Yeah. So
okay,
Dan,
before he starts,
I'm wondering if you have a wrap.
Okay.
Okay. So I like how Bubble was talking with him, and previously Dr. Dan was telling him how no, recombination isn't a mechanism for generating new information, whatever that means in this context. Yeah. And he just went back to that. And it seems as if like when they're kind of backed into a corner, they go back to the kind of script talking points. and new information. How do you get that? That seems to be one of them. So even though the conversation was going in a different way, it kind of went back to that for some reason, and that just seemed really odd to me.
Yeah. And recombination could split a gene, right? Gene conversion or whatever. And it could change the nature of a gene to the point where that gene would do something entirely different, which I think would be called new information. So it's possible on that edge case, but it doesn't happen that often. It's pretty rare because, genes are so widely separated, but I don't know. But as far as how information is created, the thing is that, okay, if you have horizontal gene transfer between two different prokaryotes, right? Would you call that new information when the packet, the operon of one bacteria ends up in another bacteria and ends up doing something? Would that be new information for that bacteria? I think so. What do you think? Did you know that Dr. Duff talks about an operon that got transferred from bacteria to fungi?
Oh, really?
From a prokaryote to a eukaryote. And he details it in just great detail. But before he does that, he explains prokaryotes and eukaryotes and their genomes and he does it really well. So he spends about 20 minutes setting it up. And it's one of the great videos that Joel Duff did that I should link in my description. But anyway, I'd never heard of that before, but there was a whole operon that created this, I forget what it was called, but it's a compound that brings iron into the organism that allows it to digest iron. And it was stolen from a bacteria. And it ended up in a couple of species of fungi. And none of the other fungi have it. So, and you can tell that it came from a bacteria. And I haven't finished the video yet, so I'm not sure what the whole story is. But there's a whole story behind it. It's pretty cool. So I'll try to link that. But you can tell, you like he says, you're going along and there's eukaryote genes, eukaryote, all of a sudden bacteria, then back to eukaryote, and it's really an interesting little piece. So
yeah, exactly what Netflix says here.
So wait for new information to develop. However, the point is that information is always undefined. Yeah, information is it's an idea that humans have.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming with Nestle's comment, he's saying information is undefined by creationists when they talk about information.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it means, I think.
Their definition keeps changing as you offer them ways in which new information could arise. If they give you one definition and then you show them that, within that definition, this is new information. Like if there's a mutation, it is automatically new information. I don't care how you look at it. Something is new about that particular gene.
Right.
If it mutates.
I think they define it in such, usually they define it so that's something new and beneficial, right?
Well, what they mean is the kind of information you would get from a blueprint if you were working at Ford Motor Company and you were looking at the blueprint of a brake pad. And you had information on that blueprint, and then you went ahead and created a brake pad. So that is the simplistic way in which they think about information.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like one gene leads to one thing and another gene leads to another thing when it's way more complicated than that.
Yeah, but if you show them that a gene duplication could account for an entirely different bone, so that you had one bone and then you had another bone connected to it. So now we've developed a new bone. They'd say, oh, no, that's not new information. That's just a copy. Right. So they keep modifying their goddamn definition as fast as we provide them with answers about, what happens. But I mean, and that's the other thing. Last night in the debate, I think that, what was his name? James W?
Yeah.
Okay. He made the point, I'm pretty sure it was him. He made the point that when you have children, those children are not like any other human being that ever existed before. They're different. So that is new information. And that was another brilliant thing he did in that debate.
Yeah, I had never thought of it that way.
Yeah. He's Amy Newman's companion, right, on her channel?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, yeah.
And this is why the whole concept of new information is kind of nonsensical. It's more just like things becoming more and more different over time.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought I thought that debate last night was the only one. Of course, Hovind stuff is never worth listening to, but listening to that guy, the way he he wasn't coming at it from from being a geneticist or a scientist or anything. He was just coming at it very rationally, and he came up with a lot of really good things that went over everybody's head on this channel that we're looking at right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, let's
rational justification for your atheism.
What?
I don't think I've ever said I'm an atheist. I don't know why that's wrong.
Well, no, yeah, well, you are. Your channel is the Christian Fish, titled Creation Myth, so you're antagonistic to the biblical world. But surely you must have a rational.
He's antagonistic to creationism, not the biblical world, not Christianity.
Right.
None of us are, in fact.
Justification for your position that there is no God, right?
One.
So Dan, how is it that there is no God?
Wait. RL.
Hold on, Bob. Dan White Knighter.
I just want to say something.
Okay. Good night, everybody. Bob, because if you just.
How is it that there are no unicorns?
How is it there are no creationists who know how to read books?
Yeah. Anyway, so I think Dr. Dan disappears here shortly, right?
Yeah, it is pretty much it.
Let's listen to the rest of the trolling first.
So no justification, Dan?
Redefine, come on.
If you want to go.
Dan, so how is it that there is no God?
See, Bob called him out. So, I mean, Bob does that. He calls these guys out once in a while, and he's worth listening to, I think, more than any of the others, but not tonight, not last night. Well, maybe, I don't know. He's worth listening to, so he ain't all bad.
God.
I honestly, I don't care. They're so.
And that's a good response.
I don't care. Yeah. And that's how I feel about it. It's like, come on, dude. I just don't believe in God. It's just, I'm sorry. But that's a whole other discussion from evolution. I don't know.
It's like trying to get somebody to talk about sports when they don't care about sports.
Yeah. Like, how about those? What is it? I can't even think of the name of a sports team.
Cowboys.
How about those Cowboys?
They're in Texas.
Cowboys? What the fuck?
Cowboys? I thought we were talking about soccer.
Yeah. I don't know. Spore.
I can't remember Dallas's soccer team. Burn? I don't know. Let me see.
Yeah.
Firebirds.
Let me look it up.
I'm just saying that would be really funny if there was a team that was named something that like robotic.
Wasn't that? I don't think.
It's just called FC Dallas.
Yeah, that's boring.
They don't know how to name teams. There's the.
I thought it was the Ewing.
Mavericks are the.
I thought it was the Ewing.
Say what?
I thought it was the Ewings.
I don't think they are real.
The Ewings? No.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody named Ewing out there, but you're talking about from the TV show.
You mean that's not a history? That's not a documentary?
Tell you what, I'm just going to say yes, Speed. It's a documentary.
Oh God! Thank God!
We have some sexy people in.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought it was a documentary about the oil companies in Texas.
Well, yes, oil company history.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. Do we have anything else?
Do you have any more timestamps?
I don't think I do. Well, Christopher Silvius, I don't know. He just came in and said something real stupid.
Well, I don't think that he won that debate. The reason is because he brought, he just snowballed Hovind with all of these different things.
Yeah.
And Hovind can respond to them, but just because you can respond to something, that doesn't mean anything. You really have to focus on the details, and they don't want to focus on one point. They just want to scramble to all these different kinds of things and raise doubts. I'm really not liking it.
Isn't that a little projection there? Isn't that kind of what they do with evolution?
So is he accusing James of being that way?
Yeah. He just wants to raise doubts. Raise doubts in what?
He kind of used Kent Hovind's method then, although it sounds like he used facts and did it in a dignified way and didn't, the whole damn not Pokemon. Okay, we'll just say fish to pine tree thing. Nothing of what James said was anywhere that low.
And observing reality makes them doubt.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, observing reality makes them doubt their book stories.
Reality can be quite persuasive.
So this blog here, I believe I linked in my description. This is worth reading if you want a really good thing on pharyngeal slits and all of that. Let me see if I did put that in there. The HOPWOOD. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's linked in the description. But this is a pretty good little piece. And so they talk about the gills to lungs straw man is what they're doing. That isn't what happened. That isn't the way it developed. And then he's talking about in fish, the pharyngeal pouches go on to push through to the outside of the body, and tissues between the slits develop into the gill bars of bone or cartilage that support the delicate filaments of the gills themselves. Those gill bars are important because we can trace their developmental fate, not just in fish, but in frogs, reptiles, birds, and mammals. And what do we find? And then he goes on to explain what we find. And so this is a really good little article on that, or a good blog post. That kind of explains something we were talking about at the beginning. So I thought I would offer that.
Yeah, it's interesting how evolution is partly the result of functional adaptations by natural selection, but it is kind of at least partly the result of historical and developmental constraints to some degree.
Yeah, that's where it really gets interesting, is when you start looking at those constraints going from one organism type to another. When you look at fins to limbs, and you see how all that basically happened the way it did. And it's kind of amazing that those structures that were present in these early mud hoppers, right, where they were pushing themselves up out of the mud a little bit, how that turned into locomotion, or basically moving, and how our limbs developed within those constraints. And they could have happened in a number of different ways. Like with insects, you can see very vastly different kinds of locomotion, But we ended up with this particular thing which came from these mud skippers, Silence.
Sorry, my dogs were barking.
Oh, okay. Oh, do you know what's happening out here? My ice is melting. I've been watching my ice melt for 48 hours.
48 hours straight.
Yeah, that's what we do here in Minnesota in the spring. In the spring, we're so
build up and you watch it melt.
We're so sick of ice and snow that we just sit and watch it melt for like 48 hours. We
Love
get
the
nights. Yeah, we don't sleep. We make popcorn.
So have the raccoons come back to your porch?
Oh my God, those raccoons! Oh my God.
I mean, are you actively feeding them?
Yes.
Oh,
but I went out there last night and I had a stern talking with them, because the night before they tried to kill one of the raccoons. It was like one of those chimpanzees, like You remember that video of the chimpanzees that killed that raiding, that chimpanzee that came into their territory?
Yeah.
It's iconic. That's what these raccoons were doing to this one chimpanzee, and they wouldn't leave him alone.
Wait,
and
the raccoons were attacking a chimpanzee?
No, they were attacking another.
Now that would have been a story.
Yeah, that would have been a story. Okay. Fuck you, Andrew. They were attacking another raccoon. And this raccoon was crying and screaming, and then there were about 8 of them, and they were on this ledge. We have this retaining wall, and there's about a 10-foot drop on the other side of the retaining wall. And I came out there and I started yelling at them, and 3 or 4 raccoons fell off that thing, and I heard them plop. And then they all ran off to another part, and they far out in the woods, and they kept attacking them. And it would have been, because we have all these hills and there's all this ice, I couldn't go after them. But I mean, this happens like maybe 4 times during the summer, where I'll hear a raccoon just being killed, by these other raccoons. And I think it's a territory thing.
Yeah. Or
he may have
that's just
wandered
weird.
in.
It makes me feel sad for the little raccoon, but
yeah. So last night, instead of feeding them from the door, I went out there with a pail and a stick, and I kept tapping the stick, and I was yelling at them, and they all ran off and looked at me from over the retaining wall, and they listened to me. And sure enough, last night there was hardly any fighting. They were really good.
wow.
Yeah. So I think I got through to them a little bit, but anyway, I was out in the backyard, sitting on a lawn chair, and these squirrels all of a sudden started making this incredible racket, and I could hear this whole band of squirrels coming in through the trees, jumping from tree to tree. And then the squirrels that lived in my backyard started fighting with them, and squirrels were falling out of the trees, and they were screaming, and it was like a raiding band of squirrels came from one territory to the other, and there was like a squirrel war that went on for 30 minutes.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe it.
I'm sorry. That sounds for some reason like a really war story kind of. I'm sorry.
But I mean,
that's really funny for some reason.
There were at least 60 squirrels involved in this raid, in this war. Like 30 of them came in from somewhere, and they started fighting way up in the trees, and they were falling out of trees like 20 feet.
There you go.
I don't know if they can handle that. Yeah.
I guess Speed is our North Minnesota war correspondent.
Yeah. That's the way they were last night after I yelled at them. They looked just like that. They were just like, okay, we'll be good.
We'll even sing you a song.
Yeah.
Just keep us updated on the squirrel war and the raccoon ruckuses.
Yes.
Ooh, nice.
Yep. I blame
Gur wants the link.
Huh?
Gur wants the link.
Well, we gave him a link. Are you going to put a link out there, Scott, or shall I?
I can put a link out there.
You're fast. You're young and quick like a bunny.
Those are 2 words that have never really been applied to me in a long, long, long time.
Oh, you're quick like a bunny.
If Gur does join. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm not really saying anything.
Oh, I was just gonna say if Gur does join, I can only stay for about 20 minutes more before we maybe end the stream.
Yeah, we're gonna let's
get set up and eventually.
Okay, I'm confused now. We started at 3, so we're ending at 5. So, I get to shoot it in the head pretty quick. Cool, awesome. I love that part. And I can go watch my ice melt some more because it's like 57 degrees here. Finally.
Well, have you got the music cued?
Hey, Gur. So you done any Maddox takedowns lately? He's pretty buttered about that.
Speed. Have you got the music cued?
Oh, I don't have the music.
Damn it.
Failure.
Lost opportunity.
Hey,
lost opportunity.
Speaking of little PP, he told me, because I watched a little bit of his after show last night.
Yeah.
And he made a comment and said something like in the side chat, Germania is obsessed with me. And I said, I did one single video on you.
Right.
How does that equal obsession?
Well, it's probably because he came on his other streams, maybe.
Somebody asked me if I was violating my truce by going after Maddox on the last couple of streams. and I explained that this is exactly what Maddox wants, is attention. So,
and really, we didn't talk about Maddox that much.
No, we didn't.
As per usual.
Because Maddox doesn't have any other argument than the one we dealt with 2 years ago, you know. So
yeah,
just like any young Earth creationist.
Yeah. So what are you doing, Gur? What's up?
Oh, not too much. I was finally at a point to where I could join, so I said, originally I wasn't going to join. I was like, it's just speed.
Yeah.
It's just a pudding gang. But then I remembered, as the leader of the pudding gang, I owe it to come in here.
He has the duty to join.
I am the leader of the.
No. I look at me. I'm the captain now.
Are you?
Sorry, Spade. You got to hand out the baton now.
Are you really, Gur? Are you really the captain?
You didn't kick me out. I temporarily left.
Are you really in control there, Gur?
No, I am not.
No, you are not. Are you doing a stream soon?
I keep itching to do one. Like today, I thought about doing one. I thought about doing one yesterday.
So is that kind of the cycle? You finish a weekend of streams, and then you're kind of exhausted maybe the next day, but then suddenly you start getting this itchy feeling like you need to be on YouTube talking about this, that, and the other.
I need validation.
Kind of gets shaky.
I know that kind of feeling.
And well, here's the thing: on weekends, it's perfect timing for me because I don't have any work Saturday or Sunday. So Friday night, I'm good to go. Saturdays have been really great because Mrs. Mania has been working on the weekends, and so it's perfect. I don't have to worry about ignoring her or interfering with any plans of hers because she's at work. But during the weeknight, usually the time I want to stream is about at the earliest 5 o'clock, at the latest 6 o'clock. But by then she's already home, and so I can't really just ignore her because I'm an awesome boyfriend.
Reality. I think that's the first thing.
Whoops.
Okay.
You're an awesome what?
I'm an awesome boyfriend.
Okay, man.
I can say that because she's not here at the moment. So
yeah, to point you to reality.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
now I do have an announcement though.
What do you?
There is a YouTuber named the name of his channel is the Javier Show. He's a black guy and he's conservative and he's an atheist. Quite the mixed bag.
That is, yeah.
Okay.
So is that Javier like with a J or with an X?
With a J.
J, yeah. That X would be Xavier, I guess.
Yeah, don't worry. I did the same.
Ladies and gentlemen.
There he is.
But yeah.
Just
so that should be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. That's him. So what I did was I saw him on Pine Creek maybe 2 weeks ago. And so I think this was on Monday. I sent him a message. I left a comment in the side chat, and I said, "Hey, if you're interested, I'd love to have you. Love to have a conversation, one-on-one stream with you." And he said in the stream, he said, "Well, Germania, I'll have to look at your content first because I just need to know who I'm talking with." And I was like, "Yeah, that's fair." And then I didn't say anything. I left, and I figured, maybe I'll check back with him in a few days. I think it was like the next day he sent me an email and said, "Hey, I'm down."
So he's a conservative, but what kind of conservative?
Well, that's what I want to get into because on Pine Creek's channel, he talked about how, he's a conservative, but he's also an atheist. And most, black people or African Americans, at least here in the U.S., most of them, statistically speaking, lean liberal or vote Democrat. And
Is
so
he a Trumper?
There's a lot of conservative African Americans. There's a big bundle of them. And
is he a MAGA head?
Well, that's the thing. I'm not entirely sure. I've watched a little bit of his stuff, and I'm just like, okay, this guy is the perfect fit for what I do because I love talking to all types of different people, as you all know.
Yeah, to find out about their points of view and stuff.
Right. Yes.
Yeah,
And
cool.
what Paul said is the same impression that I have, which is he seems to be really anti-woke. So it should be a fun little stream. I don't think it'll be a dumpster fire or anything like that because I've seen the way he interacts with other people, and he's seen just what little bit I've seen. He seems, pretty calm and collective, but probably doesn't talk too much. Well, I doubt we're going to share a lot of the same views, at least in regards to politics. Because if he is a Trump supporter, that should be a fun time. But yeah, so that'll be Friday at 7 Eastern time.
So I wanted to highlight this. This is Dr. Joel Duff's thing on can new genetic information be gained by an organism. And he's talking about that operon from the bacteria ending up in yeast. And this is pretty good. I will link that in the description for you because that's from November 15th of last year. And it gets pretty intense. I mean, but for everybody who's doesn't want to get as far into the science prior to I think about like right around here, he does a really good job of explaining genetics for prokaryotes and eukaryotes, and he sets it up really nicely and he gets into it. So it is worth watching for everybody. So.
Hey Scott.
Hey,
I see. Oh, I see that Dr. Dan's in the side chat. You want to, I guess, offer him a chance to come in for a few minutes and.
Oh yeah, I'll put the link out there.
I want to see if he has any thoughts on his general discussion with those people last night.
Or does he have any thoughts on the little thing that happened in the chat last night with Stan?
Yeah, that too.
Oh, that's who Center for Truth kept talking shit about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
sorry, Speed. It's no longer private.
No, I guess so. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, what was funny is I would be in the side chat and I'd see Standing for Truth say, "Oh yeah, Dr. Dan, he's just so stupid, yada yada yada." I would tune out for an hour, come back in, and Standing for Truth was saying the exact word for word nonsense about him, and I'm like,
"Yes,
what?"
Yeah,
he kept calling him a one-trick pony. Yet the only comment he kept repeating.
He had a bone sideways up his butt last night for some reason. I'm not sure what that. I guess Dr. Dan and Erica scare the shit out of him and Ramat.
Oh, I believe it.
And so they gotta approach him with all this bravado and stuff, to come back at him, because Dr. Dan and Erica have done more damage to SFT than anyone else.
I could tell just by the way SFT was talking about him. I knew he must have made some really good points to get under SFT's skin that much. So I would take it as a badge of honor, in all honesty.
Oh, yes.
And I'm sure Creationist does, but just in case he doesn't, he should.
Okay, I linked this current video in my description. So I have not watched it all yet because it takes a little time to get through the last half of it. But the very first part of it is something I think everybody should take a look at.
I also want to mention that even though Dr. Dan cannot join us, Dr. Saigar is also in the chat. So,
Saigar.
welcome.
Hi, Sai. So, Sai and I had a little dialogue about Russia and on Facebook, and I mentioned that I have defended Russia all of my life. Basically, I started in 4th grade. I think I was 10 or 11 years old. And Khrushchev was coming to America, and my entire class was, yeah, we ought to kill Khrushchev. And I was saying, no, he has a right to his ideology, and he has a right to speak, right? I was trying to defend Khrushchev, and my teacher literally had to save me from the entire class killing me.
Hey, does Sygart have the linkage to get in here, by the way?
I think so. Well, we could throw it out there again.
Awesome if you could.
I'll put it out again.
Because he says he's still here, so that's cool.
But anyway, last month I quit supporting Russia completely and forever, even though my ancestors are from there. And like when I listen to Russians talk, they're just like my uncles. I mean, they were just they have the same style and the same, and so I've always loved Russia. And I always, wanted us to try to fucking work this thing out with Russia. But now with this current shit, fuck Russia.
Yeah, fuck Putin. Putin's done lost his goddamn mind.
As far as, we can sanction them into the last century, as far as I'm concerned. I don't give a shit. And, defending Russian people, and I know there's a lot of really good Russian people that are really against this, but they need to be against it in the way that we would be against some Republican asshole taking over our country. We need to, they need to get rid of that leader. It's my opinion. I mean, even if you have to sacrifice your life in order to change that kind of a totalitarian government.
Die for democracy.
You got to do it. You got to do it. I sigh.
Hey, Dr. Gart.
Dr. Gart. How you doing?
Hello.
Hello.
We can hear you.
We hear you.
So, Mike, can I ask a question, Mike, about?
Yeah.
Do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
We can hear you. I don't know if you can hear us, though.
Yeah, you probably can't hear us.
Yeah, everybody hears everybody.
Yep.
Mike, I mean, the reason that conversation.
Oh, you cut out. So suddenly.
I'm sorry, I got a big delay. I don't know why.
Okay.
Let me try without earphones. How's this?
Better.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Not sure if you have a delay.
Without earphones. How's this?
Now you're right.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Not sure if you have a delay.
Without earphones. How's this?
Now you're echoing.
You may have some tabs open.
Not sure if you have a delay. Without earphones. How's this? All right, I'm out.
Okay. Try with headphones again. Anyway,
it's like a magic echo canyon.
Yeah, God, I wanted to have that conversation. I wanted to hear that question. Damn it! Now I wonder what it was.
You're gonna be up all night wondering what was he going to ask me.
But God,
always write it in text.
In the last few years, I have fought with my kids over this Russia thing because I've always defended Russia. And I always wanted us to have a very good relationship with Russia, right? And then this shit happens, and it's just like, okay, you guys were right. You were right.
Yeah, like I'm sure a good percentage of the Russian people are probably not shitbags, but their government, my God. The government sucks.
Yeah, it went from bad to worse to worser.
Yeah.
You had the what was the Romanovs, and then of course you had that whole communist regime across the decades, and then when that was over with and they had a chance to put together a democracy, old Putin had to come along. And
why in the hell has Russia had such a tough time finding a government that works? There's
a lot of history. I mean, Russian history is a deep subject,
and they're such good, powerful people, and they're just I just don't get it.
I think it's all the cold weather.
I don't know. Maybe that's it.
It makes me grumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Carol said, not the people, the government. What was that?
Oh, never mind.
Hey, so Speed.
Yeah.
I've challenged you to a boxing match.
Yeah, come on over. I'll kick your ass. You'll be really surprised.
Yeah, and never mind. I was going to quote somebody but
anyway,
everything's good now. Had said they can tag you in, and I'll beat the shit out of you next, Germania.
But what I'd really rather do is have a balloon fight with you.
That would be
That would be fun.
That'd be a lot easier on my joints.
It would, yeah. It'd be easier on everybody, particularly the audience. So, I challenge you to a balloon fight.
How about a water balloon fight in the pool?
Oh,
I didn't say anything about what I'm going to put in my balloons now. You shut the fuck up, Scott.
Hey, Jay, how you doing, man?
Hey.
I'm good.
What was that?
Yeah, we're talking chicken. Yeah, I'm good.
He let me in while I was in mid stretch.
Well, that's actually good for the show.
It sounds like you were doing something more than just stretching, Jay. Oh, okay, yeah. I admit it. You caught me mid orgasm there. I was jerking off.
Watching the stream and jerking off at the same time. That's talent.
No, I figured I would just get a head start. I was already finishing.
Wait a minute.
So.
You jerk off to my streams? Okay, explain this to me.
It really makes the speed of putting things sound that much dirtier, doesn't it?
It does. Okay, Andrew's about to leave, I'm sure.
I'll just leave it. I'm just going to leave it hang. I'm just going to leave it sit. Just marinate out there in the audience for a while.
No more.
This clip is going to end up on Maddox's channel.
It is.
Yeah.
And we have a midnight.
And we don't.
Midnight.
Or not. There we go.
Me?
Well, time to end this. Time to shoot her in the head.
Time to shoot her in the head.
Well, no, hang on. You may not want me in here, Speed, because my last stream got taken down for the word albino.
Right.
Oh, here it is.
Wait,
really?
Yeah.
Apparently, I don't know.
Yeah.
But you claim that label, don't you?
They called it hate speech. So.
Albino? That's kind of like showing their perception of albino.
I know. That's really
it was so weird
on them.
Melanin depleted?
Yeah. I don't know what the fuck.
Look, I called it the Albino Report, a subsidiary of Weather, the Weather Report LLC.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did try to watch a little bit of that stream, but all it was you chewing on something.
Yeah, it was. I'm actually glad it's gone anyway. It was kind of a bad stream.
It must have happened today then, because I think I was catching the rewind earlier today.
Yeah, I was watching it earlier for a little while, and it was there.
I mean, I also put a video from Slim Jim. He made a video about smoking, which I will admit was kind of hilarious. Like, you know what I mean? Him going insane, going insane against and Sword of Truth. I don't.
Well, he was calling him the F word and all sorts of things. He's, you piece of shit, you rat bitch, mother. That one?
I mean, yeah, it was kind of funny, I will admit.
Oh, I was laughing my ass off. I mean, the language in it is hilarious.
What is Slim Jim? Is that a YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's Sergeant Slim Jim.
Sergeant Slim Jim. Oh my God.
I've seen him around.
He's the Catholic. He's the Catholic that I get on my show or on my channel every once in a while.
Okay.
Goes by Sarge.
I've seen him on your channel.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, has anybody heard of the YouTube channel Clubhouse Debates? They've got some good stuff.
Yep.
Really?
They had a clip of Danny going after Haeckel, and it was just delicious.
Oh, we covered, Nicola and I covered a little bit of that. Yeah, there's quite a bit of Danny, I told Danny, I said, you might as well just sat back there. I said, I just got this idea, like this image in my head, like if him and Haeckel were talking in person, that Danny would just be sitting in a corner with a bunch of pre-made paper airplanes, just toss them over Haeckel's head. Like all the things he just wasn't catching.
Yeah.
It surprised me because the way Danny explained it was so simple to understand.
It was, yes, it's simple. Yeah, he does not understand. Haeckel has the same problem that like Jill and G-Man do. They don't do well with logical entailments. They do not do well with metaphors. And when he says, when you use a double negative, like it can't not happen. When you do that, that confuses the shit out of them.
He just cannot handle that. I saw, I think it was one of your streams where he just didn't get the double negative. It was amazing.
Yeah, he doesn't get not all three of them have a real hard time with that.
That's amazing.
Don't know why. They just and logical entailments are just.
Well, maybe that's what we ought to do with these creationists. Is just develop a whole bunch of double negatives and fuck them all up.
Some people are better at it than others, but for some reason, those three guys, like especially G-Man, like him trying to deal with hypotheticals and metaphors, like he would even try to do a metaphor, and every time he'd do a metaphor, he'd fuck it up every time. Drag used to get on him all the time, like G-Man, that metaphor doesn't even fucking work, man.
Okay,
Yeah, you
or
probably,
an analogy or something.
Yeah, if you're going to use an analogy or a metaphor, you need to sit down and like write it out and think about it, and maybe you won't enter any mistakes or whatever by doing so. But yeah, I think people try to make up metaphors on the fly.
I'm curious now how LPP doesn't know algebra.
Yeah, I am too.
I don't.
I am genuinely curious.
Yeah,
I don't. I never took it because I was homeschooled.
Well, but the difference between you and LPP is you probably wouldn't pretend to know it, right?
No, I don't pretend to know. If somebody tells me to fucking, and I know this isn't even technically, it's like the start of algebra, but you try to tell me how to solve for Y now or solve for X, I'll look at you like I'm stuck Irish stupid. I won't fucking know. Just like, no, I remember doing it in Math 050 in community college, and I don't remember how to do it anymore. I mean, I know it's easy enough to look up on Google and reference it. I got good enough for class, I could do it in my head, but then when it came time for me to show the work, I did it backward.
Yeah. I read magazines during the entire 9th grade algebra class because I was pissed off about algebra for some reason. Well, I was pissed off about my teacher. He was a shop teacher, and he was like boring as hell. So I slept through the whole thing basically and read magazines.
So did your shop teacher have at least one finger that was partially cut off?
Oh, my uncle's dead. My uncles all worked in the mines, and like they didn't have 5 fingers between them, like 5 of them had maybe 5 fingers left.
Yeah, my shop teacher had fingers missing, and I just wondered if that's a requirement to become a shop teacher.
I think so, yeah.
That's when they say those who can do, those who can't teach. That's the sign right there.
There's the evidence right there.
Yeah. So I went to work for the company that my dad was, pretty high up in, and my Uncle Pete worked there as a foreman. My Uncle Pete had like 2 fingers, and he had all these scars and stuff, and there were all these mining accidents. In fact, a friend of mine got killed while I was working there by dumping back in a truck over a pit. And my Uncle Pete wanted me to go and clean out this crusher that they were working on, or this, it was a crusher, and it had a screw, and the screw was about 10 feet high and about 70 or 80 feet long and weighed probably, 100 tons, right? And they had it jacked up on these little tiny jacks, and he wanted me to lay under there and hose it off. And I looked at Uncle Pete's fingers and I said, no, Uncle Pete, I'm not doing that. Call the fucking union. It's like, I am not going under that crusher. I mean, it would have cut me into 4 pieces if it had fell. And I'm pretty sure it would have fell, knowing that company. It was amazing.
Okay. So
I had to respond to praise.
Praise?
Praise I am. Yeah. I had to. He did one of his little community memes about atheists. He said he starts out with the claim all atheists are programmed to respond with is nuh-uh. And then he has this meme where like this little cartoon, and this one in one little block, the guy goes, man, isn't this great? This pizza must have been cooked by a really clever chef or something like that. And the other person, yeah, I agree. And then somebody else, then it shows like the atheist, and the guy says the same thing, and the atheist responds by getting all angry and everything and says, that's impossible. And so I wrote as a reply, I said, pizzas are baked, not cooked.
Jay, one of the funnest streams I've done in a while was all about responding to Praise I Am's community posts. It was just like every time, like one meme said, atheist just name call and call Christians stupid and mentally challenged, and then right below that he posted a meme calling atheists mentally challenged. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Projection 101.
Yes, exactly. The hypocrisy there was just like, this is delicious.
See,
Yeah,
I
scroll to the-
think where he's getting all that impression from is probably atheists' critique of him. But because the guy's a mental midget, he's a child.
But Scott, but look at what he's saying there. He says in the very top, he says, atheists they're only programmed to say nuh-uh. But in the cartoon, the atheist says that's impossible as a response. Nuh-uh.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
And he obviously drew that cartoon himself, right? Or is that Park?
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. That's what Praise and Gavin and Smokey turn into when my brother brings up the certain letters in the New Testament that aren't written by Paul. They turn into that shit. My brother goes into one of those streams and says anything about some of the letters that are accepted. Most Christians accept all these like Tim. I think it's First Timothy, and there's a few others that are. Most people kind of think, oh yeah, those are letters from Paul. But the scholarly consensus is that no, some of those letters are Paul's given credit for, but they're not him.
Right.
Somebody and yeah, whenever Jeff has brought that up, they get like that.
Yeah, because no fundamentalist is going to admit that Paul didn't write those letters, those epistles. They may allow for the fact that Paul didn't write Hebrews, but a huge percentage of fundamentalists will just go in and say that Paul wrote Hebrews, which nobody believes anymore.
Well, what it is they take Hebrews as kind of like Hebrews is being taken kind of as like this is written by Paul. So when you read Hebrews and then you read some of the other ones, you see consistency with some of those. But then in some of the other letters, the reason why my brother does a better job of explaining this. Yeah. You see inconsistencies with his script, with his message.
Right.
So that's when they look at it, they're going to go, no, this might have been somebody writing as though that they were Paul, but this isn't Paul because the letters that we see that are from this supposedly from the Saul of Tarsus or the Apostle Paul, this message doesn't match the message over here.
Right.
Captain.
Yeah, and it seems to be fitting issues of the day that were more common later on in the first century than maybe even approaching the second century than the original Paul corpus.
Yeah, you're attributing. Yeah, somebody's writing a letter that they think that they think corresponds with what it was that Paul was writing. So what they do is they just write it, and to give it more credence, they just put it in Paul's name. They attribute it to Paul, but it wasn't written by Paul, to somehow give more weight to it or more credence to that particular message. Yeah.
I like the clever, quippy dialogue between you and Praise here.
You clippy guys.
Yeah, I'd like to irritate him a little bit.
Plane flew way over your head. Yep, you didn't get it.
Yeah, because I'm an atheist, and that's not how I would have responded. I just no, pizzas aren't cooked; they're baked.
Yeah, because most atheists have seen people baking pizza.
Yeah, and you don't always have like somebody else writes a comment there. Yeah, you don't have to be that clever to make a good pizza, believe it or not.
Yeah. Just take them out of the package and put them in the oven.
Normally you got to, you want to know at least how to, you got to make the dough and everything. But normally, really what makes it for a good pizza is the quality of the ingredients. Number two, it's a food safety.
Yeah.
Not making sure you wash your hands. Don't sniff the ingredients. Don't pick your nose or, pick your butt before you touch the pepperoni.
Don't lick them.
Yeah.
Anyway,
pepperoni's not the only thing I can eat anymore. I can't eat a pizza.
I'm craving pizza.
You know what time it is?
Pizza time.
Is it howdy doody
time?
Shoot it in the head time. We started an hour early today. Huh?
I think Andrew stepped away.
Speed hasn't adjusted daylight savings.
It took me a minute.
I don't buy. I don't. That's communist bullshit. I don't do that.
Oh, great! We're having more communists. We're going to have a McCarthy Senate panel before you know it.
Okay, so somebody called into Eric Murphy's I don't know, his call-in show, and he was calling atheists communists because they don't want freedom. and he was conflating communists with like I don't know, dictators or something.
Fascist.
And Eric ended up getting a little pissed off at him at some point because he just kept with the communist stuff. And then last night I see that communist stuff with SFT, and I'm like, holy shit, they must have went to the same church.
Or maybe there's some sort of talking points going around.
But I don't think they have a clue what a communist is. You know, it's like, Jesus Christ.
It's something bad. That's why they're saying, you atheists, you're something bad. And they use the word communist instead.
Well, yeah, I'm going to be covering a little bit of Jill's video from last week, from last Sunday. But I'm going to be covering that very loosely. Like the stuff that he's just spouting off about socialism and fascism is just completely unfounded.
Yeah.
I mean, some of it is not, but a lot of it is just the way he's trying to draw this parallel between fascism and the Democrats and therefore atheists it's just a really sloppy, argumentation. But what do you expect from someone like Jill? It's just like, Christ's sake, dude. Seriously? It's like, my God, man.
I wouldn't expect any less, in all honesty.
I'm just thinking about starting my own laugh track. Like I make a comp, like he writes, once he gets done, just pause it and then just hit canned laughter and then just keep going.
So
that's a good idea.
Gur is shilling his channel here. He did a takedown on Praise's dumbass community post.
Oh, it was delicious.
You should have invited me for that. Why didn't you invite me for that?
Actually, since he keeps posting new stupid posts, I would like to have you for the next one. I think it was such a good time last time, and it was just me because I didn't invite anybody else. But god damn,
yeah.
So I have a question. I'm sorry, I have a question real quick. I clicked on your link. It's 3 hours and 25 minutes long. Was the whole thing?
Okay, no, it was. If I remember right, it was probably like maybe an hour of me reading his post, and then I let people in.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think something like that. Yeah, it's not all just me reading his dumb posts.
When are you going to learn not to let people in?
Well, you know what's funny is I'll have people say, "Oh yeah, I love the new format where it's just you," and then other people say, "God damn it, Gur, this stream your channel isn't as fun anymore." I'm like, "You sons of bitches."
That's because they're waiting for the dumpster fires. They're waiting for the fucking. They're waiting for the bad reality TV. Yeah. They're waiting for Knox to come in there and just get worked up.
Yeah, you basically changed your format, and so the people you attracted first were attracted to the dumpster fire.
Yeah, when you start to be more adult, people fucking walk away.
Yeah, they just won't have it. They're done with adulting.
So Jay, is this Sergeant Slim Jim a good guy or what?
Slim Jim? Yeah. Him and we've been buddies on here for a while. Probably, I met him through drag. Yeah, he's a veteran, Army veteran, and he's a civil servant, and he's a cop. And yeah, but he's a devout Catholic, and he definitely has some very far right leaning political views. And it's just funny to hear him and like Jill talk about politics. It's hilarious because when Jill sits there and tries to conflate fascism with liberalism, Jim's just like, dude, they're not the fucking same. It's like, no, liberalism and fascism are not the fucking same. It doesn't work. He's like, yes, it does. In the tyrannical sense, it does. These liberals are all about taking away this, taking away that. I'm like, wait, would you take away gay people's ability to get married? Yes, I would. Would you take away the ability for women to get abortions? Yes. Tyrant, right there. God damn, dude.
Yeah, liberals only want to make sure people have, health care and housing and things like that.
Yeah.
Freedom to
There's some really good videos on Carnitas. It's Carnitas. I think that's how you pronounce it. It goes by Carnitas. CARNDESES. Carnitas or something like that. Anyway, he has some good videos where he talks about fascism, socialism, capitalism, and all that. They're pretty short, but they're very informative.
Okay, guys, we're going to shoot it in the head for sure now. So, anybody have any last words?
Stay curious.
Unsubscribe from this channel and subscribe to anybody
Unsubscribe
else's
from
channel.
Gur streams. You will get if you watch that shit. And balloon fight, motherfucker.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it. We're doing this shit.
I'm gonna bring it.
Yeah.
And if you're a creationist and happen to be listening to this, schedule a conversation with Dr. Dan from Creation Myths.
Yes. Yeah.
It would be worth the time.
Or
if you're not, you're shredding your opportunity to learn from a very smart person.
I want to also extend basically an invitation to anybody that goes on Maddox's streams, Argatha, all those guys, and have questions about evolution to come over here and talk about evolution with me. And we'll have a one-on-one with no more than Scott in the background, and it will be very pleasant, and you will not be displeased with the conversation, but come and ask me fucking questions, because I can't do it on Maddox's channel for a couple of reasons. Number one, the idiot does it like after midnight, and number two, Maddox has the control of that fucking channel, and I'm not doing it. So.
I don't understand how why the evolution conversation is still a thing amongst these evangelicals. The Catholics basically reconciled the theory of evolution with the Christian faith a long time ago, and it's not even controversial. But for some weird reason, you got SFT that has made a following out of this. We're all mad. John Maddox. Well, I know with John Maddox, it's more along the lines of intelligent design, but still.
Well, he still defends creationism every chance he gets.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. But it's like, dude, you could still have an intelligent designer and still have the theory of evolution.
Yeah.
They don't rule each other out.
Well,
you can have an intelligent designer that created everything, and everything runs the way we observe it, and the theory of evolution comports to what we're observing in nature. That could just be what the intelligent designer did. He had to do it this way. No,
I've made that exact point multiple times too.
Next time you stop in, Jay, we'll have a long conversation about that, but we're shooting it in the head now, so we can't.
Oh no, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it now. So go on, Jay. I'm listening.
Burr is canceling your shooting in the head.
Bye, Gur.
I will see your shooting of the head and raise you one more topic.
Hey, do you like my new name?
Goodbye,
Sweet.
cruel world. I love your name, but I'm gonna have to throw you out now. We're leaving out of here.
Good.